Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, welcome to the stream, and chapter 2, working on that guy right there. That is our 98 Firebird Ram Air by Revell Monogram. Just run the intro, we'll get into it. Okay guys, we're back, and we're going to continue on this. Now, last time I said I'm going to not do anything off camera. I don't know, the goal was to do everything and show you guys. So I primered everything and I did it off camera. But technically, I just didn't live stream it, that's all. So here it is. Okay, so that's the priming of all the parts. The only thing I did not prime was the outside of the body. That's the only thing I haven't done yet. I'm going to do that later. So I got the engine and transmission painted our nice aluminum color, and that's done. So, but I'm not done painting the engine, so we've still got to do a little painting on this. And so let's just do that, okay? Let's change the camera here. Okay, so we have a crooked camera. There we go. And now it's a shaky camera, sorry. There we go. So that's a little better. It'll stop eventually, guys. Okay, maybe after everyone's got a little bit of car sick. So we've got a nice aluminum looking block. I did a little bit of black panel liner in there just to kind of accent it out a little bit. I was able to get 99% of rid of the seam that goes across here of the two halves of the mold, and so my transmission looks pretty much like one piece now. See, it's looking good. It's looking pretty good, right? So there we go. Yeah. So, but we got to put some black on this because in real life there's a bunch of black on this engine. So I'm just going to use Mr. Surfacer 1500 black as my black, and that should be good for black. We have to do the tops of our valve covers and our what do you call them, the coil packs, and I got to do the intake manifold. Those got to be black. Okay, that's what we're doing. So glasses are important, and in order to paint I'm going to need a brush. Let's get this opened up here. I actually prefer this stuff to something like, say, Tamiya's flat black, because this just seems to, it flows nicer, and it does a great job. I like it. So we're going to paint valve covers here. Now, hindsight being 2020, painting the valve covers before putting them on would have been a lot easier. But it doesn't exactly mean it's really hard now. It's just a little harder to get into the nooks and crannies. And of course we've got our little like wire details of the coil packs that seem to come down on the sides of the head here. Okay, we've got one valve cover done. All the detail on it, it makes it so you've got to get in all the little nooks and crannies with your brush and everything like that, so it takes a little longer than a typical old school valve cover. And then of course, as the paint starts to dry and flatten out, you discover spots that you missed. So you got to go in and touch up in those areas. There we go. There we go. Okay. So let's get started on the other one. Because we do have two after all. It's a V8 engine. Of course, this side has our little oil filler cap on it, a little extension. Forget your little wires that run down the side of the head here. It's probably going to be hidden in behind the exhaust manifold, but still, it's a little detail. And you know, your fantasy comes alive in the details. Make sure we get all sides. Including our little filler cap tube thing. Because he's also black. And even the cap itself is black. It was kind of very boring, you know, late 90s. Well, actually just 90s in general. 90s engines in general were not the prettiest looking engines. Everything was either black, it was all black and aluminum. And those were kind of the colors of the day. It's just the way they were. Okay, so both valve covers are done. So now we can work on our intake manifold. I believe the intakes of this generation were starting on the plastic trend. It's the beginning of the plastic intake manifold. I'm going to do not this whole piece, but just up to there. So we have our fuel rails that go in there too, but the fuel rails were not plastic. After all, we've got something like 40 psi of fuel going through there. Something like that anyway. I don't know the exact psi, but it's high. So actually, when I first, I was in my late teens when fuel injection became a kind of the standard amongst everything, amongst engines, and I remember finding out the PSI that they use for fuel injection was like 30 or 40 PSI. I was like, what the heck? Okay, so for our detail in between our little fuel injectors or whatever these little sensor things are, I'm just going to use some black panel liner to get in there. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be black. The smog pump might be black, I'm not sure. But the rest of this stuff, I believe, is all just aluminum. It could be, it might not be. It's either aluminum or it's black. It's really, I don't know. This looks like a canister of some sort. I'm going to actually refer to some reference photos here that I have of the engine and these cars, and just see if I can tell in photos, because everything is black on these things. This is actually looks like a power steering pump, maybe for power steering fluid or something, and that should be black. So let's get the black out again here. So our little box here is supposed to be black. With the lid also, you'd think, oh, let's make it interesting and make the lid chrome or something. Nope. Everything's either black or aluminum. Very boring 90s. 90s engines were kind of boring when it came to that. I mean, it's true. This engine is 320 horsepower, factory horsepower, which for some reason always seemed like a better thing. When I was a kid in my early 20s, it just seemed like factory horsepower was more horsepower. I don't know. Or I guess it was like it's reliable horsepower. When I was a teenager building my hot rods and stuff, it seemed like you start souping up a car, you wind up running into problems where, one day it just doesn't want to start, and you have to adjust timing and stuff like that, play around with settings and all kinds of things. Just your engine would randomly not want to start, or it would run rough one day for you and just not really be all that great. There we go. All right, there we go. So we now have some black detail on our engine. Okay, just like this. looking a little detailed now. But like I said, it's typical late 90s engine. There's not really, you got no color, you don't have no chrome, it's just plain aluminum and everything, and all that stuff. Yeah. Okay, so it's a couple of things I need to do for preparation. Okay, I'm going to change camera here. So we need to strip the chrome off of this stuff. In particular, really just the wheels and the muffler needs to lose the chrome, because that's the way it is. So what I'm going to do is, let's get the wheels, let's get these off of the sprues. I'm going to keep the kit chrome on the mirrors because, well, the chrome's not stripped. There's a little bit stripped on the back of this one and on the back of our rear view mirror, but that's fine because the back of your rear view mirror is not chrome, is it? No, they never are. Because they're made out of plastic. So we don't have to worry about that. So let's get the wheels and the muffler off the sprue, and I'll show you guys what the plan is. How do we strip the chrome? Well, I'm glad you asked, even though you didn't. We're going to use oven cleaner. That's right, oven cleaner. Okay, so that's it. So I'm just going to shrink my chrome sprue down a little bit here. Okay, so that's what's left of our chrome. It's just the mirrors. And I'll just quickly throw this in the garbage. Okay, so let's just get rid of these nubs. We can worry about cleaning up everything later. It doesn't have to be for stripping the chrome. We don't have to worry about how clean it is. So let me grab a container. Okay, nice glass container. It's much bigger than we need, but that's okay. Put our parts in here. Okay, and now oven cleaner. I just happen to use this stuff. Now in Canada, we don't get access to the same kind of strong stuff that you guys in the States get. In fact, even something like Super Clean, okay? This stuff is a weaker version of what you guys can still get in the States. I happen to have an old, very like 20-year-old bottle of this stuff when it was made by Castrol. And it says Castrol Super Clean, and that was the good stuff. Now they've, Canadian regulations don't want consumers having access to chemicals that are quite that strong. So even this stuff, you guys in the States, you use this easy off, heavy duty oven cleaner. Your guys might be a little more potent than mine, and it might strip the chrome faster. For me, however, this might take, I don't know, maybe a couple of hours, where you guys might be done in 20 minutes or so. Something like that. I want to not have this thing drip on me, but I need to wipe that. There we go. Okay, so for safety reasons, you really should be using gloves. Maybe you put a mask on. It doesn't really matter though. You ever see did your wife ever putting on a mask when she's cleaning the oven? Probably not. So this is all we got to do. Put a deep enough amount so that these are soaking in here. Okay. It's already stripping it off. It does very short work. But I'm going to leave this for maybe a couple of hours. we'll take a look before I'm done and I gotta go. We'll see. But you should put a lid on it, just in case you spill it. And also, you know, it does stink up your room. So, yeah, we'll just put that down over here and let that sit. Okay, so that's that. That's got to be taken care of. The other thing I need to do is take care of our window. Okay, this is another thing that's going to take a lot of work. I got a whole bunch of dust on my window now. You know, spraying all that primer everywhere. You get dust in the air, and see, this is something that really sucks. Now, this is a perfect example of an old kit. I'm really hoping this doesn't show. That right there. I'm hoping that doesn't show. See that big, it's like, I don't know, maybe that was held on a sprue at some point. Right here. It's got a big crack in it, and it's coming off. I really don't know. I'm pretty sure when he pops the hood, that's going to show there. You know, it might be hidden in behind the hood when the hood opens. Let me just do a little mock-up here. That's going to sit something like that. No, that's going to be totally visible there. Look at that. Unless there's a cowl or something that goes over top. I'm hoping there is. Anyway, it doesn't look very nice. Anyway, I've got to cut this. So how am I going to cut it? I'm going to use my brand new tool. My Hand Boost ultrasonic knife. You guys may have seen me use this once or twice before. It's a brand new Christmas present from my wife. This thing uses ultrasonic vibrations to do your cutting, and it cuts through like butter. This blade, although this blade is very, very sharp, I could just, you know, start working at it like this and go through, but I don't really want to do that. What I do want to do, I already marked a line going along here. Okay, this is where we need to do our cut, and I need to do the window, so I want to maintain that part of it. So I'm going to cut on this side of the line, not this side. I'm going to cut on this side here, the back side, and go along there with it. Okay, now for something like resin, like for example this guy right here, if you have resin, this stuff cuts through resin just like butter. What I have found with plastic though, this stuff actually heats up and kind of melts the plastic. And so, but it still comes through really nice. I still got 83% of my battery on here. So it's going to heat it up and kind of melt it. But that's okay, because this is kind of the sacrificial layer anyway. Even though it is using ultrasonic vibrations, it does just kind of melt the plastic a little bit. And you can see how easy that was to cut that. It makes it so easy. It's incredible. And you can see it's a nice clean cut. Like, that just was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I got a little bit of an edge here, but that's okay. We can just take our file and kind of go along here and just get rid of our little lip. It's a big lip. I mean, technically it is. The plastic melted there, so. Okay, that's feeling pretty good. Let's just do a little test here. So this is going to go inside like that as our window goes in to its spot, just like so. And we take a look here, and that's what she's going to look like on the inside, right? It's kind of cool that they even have like your interior dome light molded in here. Okay, so that also makes it a lot easier to put our windshield in, because our windshield's going to go in like this too. And that's how it would go. Okay. But that's that. So, with that done, the other thing I need to do is I'm going to be painting, my buddy wants the back window tinted, so I am going to be painting the back window black, just totally black on the inside, because I feel like scale model window tinting, I mean, in real life you'd be using like a 5% tint, and it would be really hard to see into the back of your car with a 5% tint. Now you take that down to scale model car and you probably wouldn't be able to see through it at all, which is why when I tint my windows, I just paint them black, just plain black on the inside, and done. Call that done. And they look good. No, you can't see into the back seat, but it doesn't really matter. So now the other thing I need to do is trim around our window visors, and my sonic blade should make that easy as well. So let's try this out. I am doing this for the first time, guys. This is not something I do all the time, so bear with me. You can hear it vibrate on the plastic. I want to go around our visors. It really does make short work of it. Like, it's crazy. Okay, let's go down in this area here. And just so you guys know, I'm barely putting any pressure on this at all. I'm going really light on it. I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. I can actually feel the plastic get hot from the vibration. But my plastic is also being a little bit of a pain and not wanting, this section doesn't really want to cut. There we go. All right. Well, that was only on setting 2, and there's 3 settings on this thing. And yes, put that guard back on there. So this is now garbage. But you know what? I never know when I might need a curved piece of glass. So there's our little visors cut out. These obviously need a lot of love to get them looking a little bit more presentable and rounded and nice looking. But they're also really thick for visors. But that's the way it goes. And the reason why I'm keeping the visors is because when we cut off our T-top, the visors are supposed to be look kind of poking through. So there's that. Be careful how I file this because I don't want to file on the actual window. That would be a very fortunate situation. So I want to reiterate in that doing all this, show you guys the entire process. It's something I want to do, but I'll sit and work on this kind of stuff for an extended period of time in between all videos because I want to show you guys the assembly, how it goes together, and how it works on the channel. But something like this is old kit. You just throw it away, so this is much more of a kind of like, I don't know, I'm not sure what I'm going for. My searching more trying to make it. I'm on fire. Okay, I think I'm at a point where my visors are cut out pretty good enough. Pretty good enough. Yeah, pretty good enough. Visors are all shaped out there, and they're smooth for the most part. Yeah, they feel pretty good. Okay, should I tackle the T-roofs now? This needs to be cut out all the way across here, down into the door, just totally cut off, and then cut right along this line. We're going to retain the front edge, you know, of our window trim, but go all the way through and go down and cut that out there and just totally remove this roof piece. I don't think it's a job for this because this just gonna work a little too quickly. As much as nice as it is that it's gonna be fast, I don't want to do that. So what are your options? Well, you could use a great big honkin' saw like this, but this is too thick. This saw blade is too thick. Yes, it would make very short work of it, but it would be too hard to get in there and go in between the lines. So this is not an option either. It's just a little too much. So I do have other saw blades. I have to move my little Porsches here. I have other saw blades. I just need to take them out. I have this guy. This guy's a little thinner, but his teeth are a little more aggressive. And yeah, in the same fashion, if I put him in there he's going to be digging out too much of our bar, and I don't want that. Again, would be nice, but I'm going to have to go with this guy. He's nice and fragile, but he's thin enough to get in here and cut. Okay, so back and forth, back and forth. This is going to take a long time, but this is going to be the most precise way to do it. So he's going to stay within that panel line. And this is how we just have to go all the way along. Now what I want to do is kind of get maybe 3/4 of the way through, and then start working on the front. I want to retain some strength in here as I try to go through the front. See, I'm starting to get through there on the edge, but this is really just a bit of a long process, and that's the way it is. Okay. Too hard, so you have to be careful. Seem to have a groove here. Still some signs of breakthrough. And that's why everybody tunes it. It's not exactly a quick process. Let's have a look here on the knife. See? Still no signs. Try and flex it a little bit. Okay, I think I've got enough of a groove in here that I want to start working on the front. Okay. Okay. Let's put our hand boost back. Don't need that right now. Now to me it does have other blades that they make that are like this one's rounded, but they do make other ones. This guy's almost would be fun to do. For the front, I'm not as concerned about precision on the front as I am with the back, except where we come down here, right? So I want to kind of do this one following the same line right here. I know. I want flexibly. Here's the groove, so. All right. So little plastic on the front edge here. So you have to go slow and take your time. Okay. I want to make sure I have a good groove in here before I start putting any heavier solid. And this particular thing takes a long time. That's just the way it is. Okay, so let's try. You know this one's going to be pretty harsh. I want to get this a little deeper. You know what? I am going to try my ultrasonic knife because I really don't want to be doing this for the next 2 hours. It is just a piece of plastic after all. I should be able to cut it. Let's just try this. Let's see what this guy does.
Fuck!
Shit. Well, I got through 90% just in one pass. got her. Now I did screw up with this, and that's why you got to be careful, is I have to re-glue a little part where I accidentally cut through here. But that's not a big deal, because I need to add a little material here anyway. But there we go, guys. There's our roof. I need to cut out this center section and reapply that. We need to have our center of our T-roof there. You see the center there? That centerpiece, that bar going through there? That's got to be put back in there. But that's it. So we have our roof removed, and so I'll just do a quick little test fit of our rear window. So as you can see, we put our rear glass in, and I have to kind of trim our clear section here a little bit. So we've got that sticking out, right? So that needs to be trimmed up just a little bit there, and clean that up. Okay, and then with our front window, this guy's going to go in like this. And so our T-roofs, or our visors, should be visible. But this needs to be a little bit thicker, because in real life there's a little more material there, right? So yeah, so that's our big major modification done, and there's no turning back now, that's for sure. And unfortunately, this is where I need to leave it for today. This is where I've got to get going. But before I go, let's just have a quick look at our chrome parts and see how chrome they still are. Through the gel of our oven cleaner, it actually looks like I've got some white parts in here now and not chrome. Whew, that stuff is aromatic. So here's one rim. Looks like the chrome is completely stripped off. Let's change the camera so you can see a little better. There we go. So here's one rim right there. Let's give her a little shake, get some of that off of there. There you go. She ain't got no more chrome. No more chrome. She's that pale yellowy plastic now. This one's good too. That's two. Where's our third? Here's another one. Sitting in the goop. Yep. All the chrome's gone. Got a fourth one here. Same thing. No more chrome left there. And how about our muffler? Muffler. She's got a little bit of a smudge on there on the top, but that's it. So all I gotta do now is pull these out, rinse them off in some warm water, get them nice and clean. I'll pour this back into my container and done. Okay guys? That was terrible. Anyway guys, check the description box down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you feel like. And that's where we're going to end it for today. And we will see you all in the next one.